Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode number 161 in the book of Genesis. We're in Genesis chapter 41. Turn there today. We're walking through the story of Joseph. And in the story, which just made me laugh today, scripture often does that, we find out about an attractive cow, and it kind of gets the whole story started, which is just hilarious. Joseph, back to Joseph, he's remembered by the Lord, and the Lord was with Joseph and showed him steadfast love. Now, where? He's in the prison, and most poignantly today, he's in the prison for more than 2 years. There's a man in the story who kind of fails him. He doesn't remember Joseph when Joseph specifically asked him to remember him. And people, obviously are unsteady and unfaithful, but the Lord here is faithful and steady. The Lord is demonstrating hesed love, loyal love to his child Joseph. Now, this is not the way we'd like the story to go, being in prison for 2 years, but it's going to lead us to a lesson about using your gifts, following the Lord when it's difficult, knowing that we're being seen the whole time and being faithful in the pit, and curious when you should see an attractive cow. So listen to this. This is in Genesis chapter 41. After 2 whole years, Pharaoh dreamed, so Joseph in prison for 2 years plus. Pharaoh dreamed that he was standing by the Nile, and behold, there came up out of the Nile 7 cows, attractive and plump. I've never just heard of that description. As they fed in the reed grass, and behold, 7 other cows, ugly and thin, came up out of the Nile after them, and stood by the other cows on the bank of the Nile. So I was like just struck, what's an attractive cow, and how is it attractive and plump? It just kind of rattled me, and obviously it rattles Pharaoh, because then this happens. Then the ugly thin cows ate up 7 attractive plump cows, and Pharaoh awoke. So in his dream, he's got carnivorous cows attacking and eating our favorite attractive cows. So then he falls asleep again, verse 5, and dreams a second time. And behold, 7 ears of grain, plump and good, were growing on one stalk. And behold, after them sprouted 7 ears, thin and blighted by the east wind. And the thin ears swallowed up the 7 plump full ears. And Pharaoh awoke, and behold, it was a dream. Again, carnivorous corn now. So in the morning, his spirit was troubled, clearly, and he sent and called for all the magicians of Egypt and its wise men. We don't mean sleight of hand. We mean kind of religiously oriented people. Pharaoh told them that his dreams, but there was none who could interpret them to Pharaoh. Then the chief cupbearer says to Pharaoh, I remember my offenses today. So he actually admits that he's offending Joseph by not remembering him. When Pharaoh was angry with the servants and put me and the chief baker in custody in the house of the captain of the guard, we dreamed on the same night, and he and I each having a dream with his own interpretation. And then here's Joseph is described. A young Hebrew was there with us, a servant of the captain of the guard. When we told him, he interpreted our dreams to us, giving an interpretation to each man according to his dream. And as he interpreted to us, so it came about. I was restored to my office, and the baker was hanged. Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph and quickly brought him out of the pit. Again, it's described as a pit. And when he had shaved himself and changed his clothes, he came in before Pharaoh. So I just love the detail in Scripture. First of all, he had to shave. So Joseph was 17 when he was sold into slavery by his brothers. And think of all the things that have happened since he was 17. He had to get to Egypt. He had to serve under his first master, Potiphar. He had to sort of excel there and become master of his house and have the fruit of the Lord. Then he gets physically mature enough to attract Mrs. Potiphar. She lies about him, and he goes to prison, and he rises to leadership of that job. And that's where he interprets the cupbearer's dream. And then he has to wait 2 full years, it specifically says. So Joseph is somewhere in his early 20s years. He's still a young man, at least by our standards. So a couple things about Joseph is he's faithful in what's in prison and what's described as a pit, even though fellow man, often the cupbearer forgets. Even though the cupbearer forgets, Joseph doesn't forget, and the Lord doesn't forget. So all the way through the book of Genesis so far, we see the Lord leaning in and turning towards Adam. We see the Lord leaning in and turning towards Rachel. We see the Lord remembering Noah when he gets off the ark over and over and again. Hagar, the mother of Ishmael. Then you have to ask, who is this God that lets you serve and be served as slaves? Who is this God that works in the hearts and the dreams of men in this fallen world that has slavery and forgetfulness and stinking clothes? So God is active sometimes, even though we don't see it. So God is active in Pharaoh, even though Joseph is in prison and doesn't see it. This is setting up this great battle between the futility of the magicians, the religious leaders of Pharaoh's world, the wise of his world. So he's going to be confronting the false and idolatrous so-called wise spiritual men. I was thinking about David today. So a young man, David, plus the Lord is bigger than Goliath. So here we see this young Hebrew plus the Lord is more than all the wisdom of Egypt. All right, a couple take-home points. Number one, use the gifts that you have. What gifts do you have to offer? Joseph here uses his gift of dream interpretation, and everybody is gifted, everybody serves. So I think you cannot say, after reading today's story and this whole episode of Joseph, you can't say, hey, I'm not that great guy Joseph. No, Joseph served wherever he was. That just doesn't cut it. Or maybe your excuse is, hey, I'm young, I'm only 17, I'm only 13. You're never too young to do the right thing and to serve and to follow the one true God. So use your gifts no matter how old you are, and follow the Lord when it's difficult and you see no end and it's taking 2 years longer than you think it should. So Joseph here is a great example of being faithful in the pit. Why? Because knowing all along the Lord is never off the throne. He's seen through the whole thing. You're seen you're seen now, and you're seen at all times. And then finally, be curious as to what the Lord is doing. And when you see something, unusual, let's pay attention. In today's case, and it's an attractive cow that gets us all going. All right, thanks for listening. We'll see you tomorrow, and we'll continue with Joseph's great story.